Hello everyone, I'm going to show you how to get C++ compiler installed on Windows, which you can't do using normal means. And to get around that, Windows actually developed their own C++ compiler, which is known as Visual C++. The problem with that is that it's not what we're using in class. It has a little bit of a difference to it, so it won't work. So I'm going to show you how to get the real C++ and how to configure it and run it. But before I do all that, I'm kind of going to show you why you would want to do this. Why go through the 20 minutes it's going to take to set all this stuff up. And the reason why is because, when we're working on small programs, it may not be necessary, but as you can see with the new project we've been given, as these things get longer and longer, you're going to want to know more and more what it is you're looking at. So, what we're going to do is take a quick look at this, and this is an IDE, Integrated Development Environment. And what's nice about it is you can see just from the coloring alone that whenever I have this greenish color, that's a comment. So all my comments are in this green color. When I have these purple colors, I'm using reserved keywords. So things like double and int and using namespace standard, all that is given that purplish color. And so what that helps me to do, when I have this blue color, I'm writing a string variable. And what that allows me to do is very quickly see where everything is and know what it is that I'm looking at. And this comes in very, very handy whenever you're writing longer programs, to know where it begins, where it ends, and what's what. All right? So the next thing it allows me to do is it allows me to build the project. And so now I've built it, and now inside of my debug, I've now got go Cygwin.exe, which is the name of this project here in C++. So it compiled it, built me an executable file. Now if I click this button up here, which is run Cygwin, it'll run it in the console down here. And so as I step through my program, I worked for 12 hours and I made 30,000 out, 156, and then saying all this little message down here, and then it's giving me some integer readout. So that's the program that this little code is doing. And so I was able to look at it, and now if I have a mistake somewhere, like let's say I have like XX int, it'll show up immediately and tell me where my syntactic errors are. So I go, oh yeah, I didn't want to have that. So now I have a clean program, and if I tried building it with something wrong, I said, build this, it'll build a project, and whenever I start running it, it'll tell me you've got errors. So now I say, oh yeah, I really didn't want that. So now I'll delete it, save it, project, build all, and then I'll rerun that, and now my program works again. So that's what it allows you to do. But it's got a couple other nice things about it. Another thing that's nice about it is that if I just had this here and knew that my program worked, well, that's great. But what's better than that? And what's better than that is the computer science course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in using the secure shell, so I don't need any third-party software anymore. I'm going to be able to directly access the computer science program right here inside of my IDE. So now I'm inside of it. Whenever I type in pwd, I see that I'm inside of classes, CS1253, CS1253CJ. If I type ls/-l, I can see that I made a directory called sandbox. So I'm going to make another directory. I'm going to call it sandbox2. Then I'm going to look at my list. I'll see there is sandbox2. I'm going to change my directory to sandbox2. Hit pwd, make sure I'm there. ls-l, ls-la. These little dot directories are hidden directories, but if you type in cd ... it takes you one level back up to where you were. And cd sand, if I hit in tab, it'll autocomplete. Alright. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in Nano, and that's going to bring up the Nano text editor. Now I can do is hit Control A, Control C, copy pasta, and paste it right inside of here. And now that big long list of stuff, I've now got it. Now what I'm going to do is these little bars here, that's Control, hit Control O, and it's going to ask me what I want to write that out as. I'm going to write that out as test app.cpp, C++. It's going to tell me I wrote out those 111 lines. If I wanted to clean this up, I could cut out some of the white space, but white space doesn't actually matter here. Then I'm going to hit Control X. It's going to exit me out of there. Now when I do my ls-l, I'm going to see I have test app.cpp, and I know that it's going to work. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit G++. This is the command line compiler. I'm going to say I want it to compile test app.c++-o, which is the output name. And I'm going to say that this is test app.exe. It's going to take a second to run that. Okay, that was really quick, actually. And then I'm going to say ls-l. I now see in the highlighter green here, I have a test app / that says run my test app. I'm going to do it. 12, 13, 1, and I see that exactly as I had it here where I test and run it, it runs exactly right down here. So now I know that I'm able to develop in a much better environment a full-scale program, and I know that whenever it's ready to deploy, I don't have to worry about trying to debug it from the terminal line here on Unix. I know for a fact it's going to work. So that's the spiel for why you should be doing this. So if that interests you, then you should keep watching this, and if not, well then you've wasted your time. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to actually get this going. So in order to get all these things up and running, you're going to need Cygwin, which is just like it says get that Linux filling on Windows. It is a Linux API simulator that runs on Windows and allows you to get a lot of the same functionality that you would if you were running Linux, which is what's necessary for C++. So to get it going, you can go to install it and then run setup.exe. You're going to save it and open it. I'm going to run it. Install from internet. Next. See Cygwin. That's perfect. Yes, yes, yes. It's going to pick a mirror for you to use. And then what you're going to want is what's called this devil right here. That's the developer kit. And then as you click on this, it's going to have install, uninstall, etc. And if you really are concerned about space, like I downloaded this entire thing, all of it, every last bit of it, and it's about 9 gigs or so. I've got a terabyte of memory on my computer, so 9 gigs doesn't really hurt it very much, 1% of my memory, less than 1%. But if you're worried about it, what you need is anything that has G++ in it. These are the things you're going to need. Okay? So these things, if you, in particular, it's actually these two right here. They're the most, the things you need the most. But that's what you absolutely need. Then you're going to need Nano, which that's a little text editor. You're going to need a little bit of Nano, and then you need SSH. And that's going to be this bad boy really right here. I got the rest of it too. I guess you can get it all. But those are the things you absolutely are essential to this whole project. So you click next, you download them, and you got them running on your computer. And then the most important thing you're going to do is type in environment and variable, and then it's going to say edit your environment for your system. You're going to see it down here where it says environment and variables. Click on that and scroll down to where it says path right here under system variables. Edit this, and what you need to add is this little thing right here, C Cygwin bin. And what that's going to allow you to do is that anytime it's looking for a program to execute, it's going to know to go here to the Cygwin bash. And bash is what it's also called inside of Linux and inside of Mac OS X. So for a quick comparison here, you see that the way Linux and Unix systems write out their, so this is DOS, this is the Microsoft equivalent of this. This is how DOS writes out a system file name, and this is how Mac and how Linux does it. And likewise to access, like where I am, pwd would show that. Here it would be dir, dir/p. That'll show me the directory of this. Oh, actually, that's not the same thing. Here it would be cd, which would just pop out a little thing. But this shows me where my path is, and this shows me it right here inside of the home configuration. Inside of Linux, it shows me really who I am. I'm Ryan. Hey, everybody. Anyway. So that's what this shows here. It shows that I'm username Ryan on Ryan PC. And if I want pwd, it gives me the path. Windows just displays that by default. More importantly, though, is if I want to see what's inside of it, I put ls-l here. Inside of Windows, it's dir/w, and that shows me what's inside of there. So it has different ways of writing out files, different ways of accessing them, different ways of doing command line, and a lot of other under the hood types between DOS and Linux that makes programs incompatible. Okay. So now that you have that up, we need our IDE. So now we got the G++ programming, and so if we really wanted to, at this point, we could start running, just running the bash line and start doing our compiling editing, but that's not what we want. What we want instead is Titanium Studio. And that's this thing right here. So if I just use the magic Google, say Titanium Studio, I get it right here. Click it. It'll have downloaded. You're going to put out a little bit of information about who you are, do it, and then log in and download it. Once you got that set up, it's going to be this thing right here that you're looking at. Now yours isn't going to look like mine, so we're going to make some quick tweaks to it to get it set up looking a little better. So first go to Help, go to, go to Window, go to Preferences, bust a little preference pane. Scroll down here to Titanium Studio, and on Titanium Studio go to Themes and change it from what it's going to be, which is going to be Aptana Studio, and change it to Eclipse right down there. And then click OK. Now once you got that done, go to Customize Perspective under the Window menu and go to Menu Visibility. And under the Windows, under Show View, turn on App Explorer and turn on Terminal. Those are the two most important ones. And then I think everything else is set up okay by default. Click OK when you've done that. Then go right here, right click, and show line numbers. It's very important. Make sure you have that. And right there I turned on folding, and what that allows me to do is that if I have a long list of statements, I can fold them up inside of the function. So I can write int main, int whatever, and I can fold it up and add it. That's a pretty nice feature sometimes when you're working on big programs. Okay. Now once you have that done, you're going to need to go to Help, and you're going to need to go to Install New Software. And right here you're going to have Find More Software by using available software sites. You're going to want to go to this Eclipse Helios update site. It may be called something different. The new one's called Indigo. So if it says Eclipse Indigo, that's fine. As long as it says Eclipse in front of it, you're good to go. Press OK. And then when it says Work With, say you want to work with Eclipse. It's going to pop up this little menu right here. These should all be turned on by default, but if they're not, turn them on. And then it should have programming languages or something like that here, yeah, right there. Open that up. We don't need them all. We only need one thing, really. We need the C, C++ development tools. And you can go ahead and download the API documentation if you want. Don't download this because it's not going to work. But you can download this or that, and it'll work just fine. Cancel out of there because I already did it. And then once you install that, you're going to have to restart Titanium Studio. When you do, go here. Click on this little window right here, click Other, and then go to C++, click OK, and it'll open up a view like this. Now when you have this view, go to Window, go to Show View, turn on Terminal, and turn on App Explorer. And basically what that'll let you do is if you're in Project Explorer mode, every time you create a new project, you'll see it right here. And then if you go to App Explorer, it'll show you what you're working on at this moment as we speak. Okay? And so basically now you've got your IDE